Humans like the unknown. We yearn for the unknown. It excites us, adds magic to our lives, and stimulates our imagination like no other. A specific genre of film that caters to this passion for the unknown is the creature feature. Creature features don't stick to one broad genre. They can be sci-fi, they can be horror, they can even be hilarious. These movies have given us a lot of imaginative characters, from Godzilla and Predator to Mogwais and King Kong. The reason I love these films so much is that they're always redeemable. I've never found a creature feature I hated because they're all anchored by a novel creature I know I'll be talking about for the next week or so. After rewatching Gremlins and Godzilla for the 100th time, I decided to switch it up and watch some movies from this decade. I figured you could use some creature features too. So, pull out your notepad and start jotting down. Here are 12 of the best. A Quiet Place Part 2. The Abbott family, consisting of parents Lee and Evelyn, sons Marcus and Bo, and their deaf daughter Reagan, attend a Little League baseball game in their hometown of Millbrook, New York. Suddenly, a meteor-like object crashes down to Earth, and hostile alien creatures begin attacking soon after. The blind creatures attack using their acute sense of hearing and decimate the population within minutes. Over a year later, most of the Earth's population has been killed. The surviving members of the Abbott family, Regan, Evelyn, Marcus, and Evelyn's newborn baby, set out to look for other survivors. Regan discovers that a high-frequency signal that she can emit from her cochlear implant can be used to subdue the aliens. They eventually meet their old friend Emmett, who reluctantly allows them to live in his soundproof bunker. Regan figures out that a signal is coming from the Norwalk Islands and sets out with Emmett to broadcast the high-frequency signal from the island's radio tower. Emmett and Regan face a lot of difficulties along the way, from dangerous survivors to aliens, but they manage to get to the islands. Unfortunately, an alien follows them on a drifting boat and attacks the colony. The duo reach the island's radio station and transmit the high-frequency signal over the radio. As soon as the alien is incapacitated, they kill it with a metal rod. Regan leaves the cochlear implant connected to the radio station mic so that anyone can play the signal easily. Marcus hears the broadcast too and plays the signal through a portable radio. He uses it to kill an alien. Written and directed by John Krasinski, A Quiet Place Part 2 stars Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, Millicent Simmons, Noah Jupe, and Jamon Honshu, and is the thrilling sequel to A Quiet Place, which introduced us to a post-apocalyptic world ruled by aliens who hunt through sound. You better not make a single sound if you want to live. These scary creatures for the first film were designed under production designer Jeffrey Beecroft, while Industrial Light and Magic brought them to life. The team wanted to make them look like humanoid predators that evolved to no longer need eyes. They drew inspiration from prehistoric fish, bats, and black snakes for their movement and design, while their skin was made to look like saggy, leathery skin of bog bodies. Though it is kind of predictable and has a few plot holes, A Quiet Place Part 2 is a great watch if you liked the first film and wanted to see more of these creatures.
Daddy!
Alien, Romulus. In the year 2142, orphan colonist Rain Carradine makes up her mind to run away from the Jackson's Star mining colony on LV-410. After the mega corporation she works for, Weyland-Yutani, forcibly extends her contract. She puts together a team made of Tyler, her ex-boyfriend, Kay, Tyler's pregnant sister, Andy, Rain's adopted brother, and a malfunctioning android, Bjorn, Tyler and Kay's cousin, and Navarro, Bjorn's adopted sister. They first head to the abandoned Weyland-Yutani station Renaissance to steal cryostasis equipment. They'll need it if they intend to survive the 9-year journey to their dream destination, Ivaga 3, an idyllic planet that has nothing to do with Weyland-Yutani. That doesn't go well for them as they accidentally unleash a horde of facehuggers that kill most of the group and begin leading to the rise of new xenomorphs. Rook, a damaged science officer android, tells them that the scientists had been studying and experimenting with alien biology when things went wrong at the station and they were massacred. The only two major survivors, Andy and Rain, eventually come across Z01, a black liquid compound derived from the alien organism that can rewrite DNA. As they're heading out, they find Kay alive but terribly injured in a xenomorph nest. They bring her back onto the ship they came in. Kay injects herself with the Z01 and gives birth to a horrifying xenomorph alien hybrid that kills her. Rain ejects the creature and sets course for Ivaga 3 before entering cryostasis with Andy. This is the tragic tale of Alien Romulus, which stars Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, Archie Reno, Isabella Merced, Spike Fearn, and and Eileen Wu, and was released in 2024. You might think that we already have enough alien movies, but this film really captures the terror and fear of the original film. Director Fede Alvarez achieved it through practical creatures, miniatures, animatronics, and physical sets, while still using digital effects where needed. He even brought back effects artists connected to the legacy of the older Alien films. The main allure of Romulus is simply the legacy of the Alien film franchise. Every horror fan worth his salt would know about xenomorphs. If you're someone who'd like to see more facehuggers along with xenomorph terror, I recommend this film. All in all, it's a pretty good addition to the franchise. Sputnik. In 1983, the sole survivor of a crashed spaceship, Konstantin Veshnyakov, is taken to a military research facility run by Colonel Semiradov and placed under the care of psychiatrist Dr. Titania Yuraneva-Kilmova and scientist Jan Riegel. Konstantin has no memory of the crash, and they try to bring his memory back. At night, Semiradov, Titania, and Jan discover an alien climbing out of Konstantin's mouth. Upon studying it, they realize that the alien is bound symbiotically to Konstantin, and if he's separated from the alien, he will die. She wants to take him to Moscow for treatment, but Semiradov forbids it, as his higher-ups want to study and exploit him. Semiradov has been lying about their progress because he believes the alien could be a great weapon for the Soviets. While going through the security feed, Titania discovers why he thinks the alien will be a great weapon. It was feeding on people because it needed cortisol from terrified humans to survive. Semiradov defends himself, saying he only fed prisoners who had committed heinous crimes. Konstantin knew about the alien's needs but hadn't revealed it, as he was desperate to get home and reunite with his son. Titania decides that enough is enough and plans Konstantin's escape with help from Jan. However, as they're trying to escape, followed by Semiradov's soldiers, Konstantin ultimately shoots himself to prevent the alien from killing any more people. One of the most original ideas on this list, Sputnik was directed by Igor Abramenko and stars Oksana Akinshina, Peter Fyodorov, and Fyodor Bondarchuk. Although Abramenko wanted a mixture of practical and CGI effects, the creature ultimately relied heavily on CGI. The way the Sputnik symbiote moves has often been compared to the movement of real-world reptiles, giving it a grounded and predatory feel. Sputnik, for me, was a breath of fresh air, as I'd grown tired of Hollywood rehashing the same old ideas over and over again. The plot is ineffective at times, but Sputnik is worth the watch if you want to grapple with the unknown and love some good cinematography. Prey. The fifth main installment of the Predator franchise, Prey is directed and co-written by Dan Trachtenberg, starring Amber Midthunder, Dakota Beavers, and Dane DeLiegro. The story revolves around Naru, a young Comanche woman who wants to be a hunter like her brother Tabe. Set in the Great Plains in 1719, Naru and Tabe set out to trap a mountain lion that had previously attacked one of their fellow tribesmen. While Naru is dealing with the lion, she gets distracted by strange lights in the distance and gets knocked down. She wakes up at home, and her brother Tabe, who had killed the lion, is honored for the hunt. Realizing that there's a bigger threat in the forest, she heads back and has her first run-in with the Predator. Though she survives the ordeal, she's later caught by French voyagers and fur trappers. They also catch Tabe and use both of them as bait for the Predator. That backfires though, and the Predator slaughters the Frenchman. When they get out, they find the Frenchman's translator Raphael's leg severed. He teaches Naru how to use his pistol in exchange for treatment. When the Predator follows Raphael's blood drops to him, he is not able to see him clearly, which helps Naru realize that the creature hunts by using body heat, as the herbs she had given Raphael also reduced his body temperature. Unfortunately, the Predator eventually finds Raphael and kills him, along with Tabe. Naru finds the lead trapper and uses him as bait while camouflaging herself with the herbs. Once the Predator arrives, she attacks it fiercely and kills it. She goes home with the head of the Predator, proving herself as a hunter and a leader. Prey goes back to the basics and is quite a grounded story. The Predator's helmet is a bit different than usual, as creature effects designer Tom Woodruff Jr. and the team wanted this Predator to feel more primal and different from the versions we've seen before. I really liked the visuals of the film, and it had an atmospheric feel to it. If you watch the Predator film over and over again as a kid, this film's for you. Nope. Hollywood horse trainers and siblings OJ and M are in a tough spot after their father passes away. They don't get that many gigs in Hollywood films anymore, so they begin selling some of their horses to Jupe Park, the owner of an amusement park called Jupiter's Claim. One night, a UFO-like object drifts over OJ and M's ranch, so they decide to film the UFO and sell the video for a neat sum. They ask electronics store employee Angel Torres to set up surveillance cameras and recruit famous cinematographer Antlers Holst. Jupe also tries to make money from the UFO and hosts a live show that ends in disaster after the creature sucks up everyone in the audience and later rains blood and debris over OJ and M's house. OJ realizes that the UFO is actually a territorial creature that attacks anyone who looks directly at it. He names it Jean Jacket after an unruly horse he once had to train. As they try to film it, Holst is consumed and OJ looks directly at the creature, which is now unfurled into a giant jellyfish-like being to allow M to escape. M rushes to Jupiter's claim on her motorcycle and releases the giant helium balloon mascot of Jupe. She uses the park's wishing well camera to photograph it. The creature sees the balloon's eye and consumes it. The balloon bursts inside the creature, violently rupturing it and killing it. With the photographic evidence secured, M looks on as reporters arrive. Writer and director Jordan Peele delivers on horror once again with his 2022 hit Nope, starring Keke Palmer, Daniel Kaluuya, and Steven Yeun. He wanted to write something about how we're addicted to the spectacle and was inspired by movies like King Kong, Signs, Jurassic Park, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Peele put a lot of effort into designing the creature too. He collaborated with Caltech professor John O'Debari for the UFO-like film, while its jellyfish-like and angelic final form drew inspiration from aquatic invertebrates and Neon Genesis Evangelion. The story's not as suspenseful as some of Peele's other films, but the camera work in Nope makes up for it. Go watch it if you like some social commentary sprinkled in with your horror. Infested. Caleb, a young man who sells sneakers in Paris, buys an exotic spider smuggled from abroad and loses it in his apartment building. The next day, he sells Tumani, one of his neighbors, a pair of sneakers. And it's only when Tumani dies that Caleb realizes the spider has gotten into the sneaker. The cops put the entire building on lockdown. Caleb tells his friends Jordy and Mathis that he's responsible for the infestation and shows them the cocoon he found in his shoebox. Seeing that the spiders had reproduced in it, the three seal the box and decide to leave the building with Caleb's sister Manon, Jordy's girlfriend Lila, and his neighbor Claudia. Unfortunately, the spiders have already gotten to Claudia. They tread through a spider-infested hallway, using light as their weapon because the spiders are sensitive to it, to escape through the parking garage, but the cops stop them using their guns and gas. Because of that, Jordy gets stuck in a spiderweb and asks them to leave him behind. The group decides to escape through the roof using fireworks to subdue the spiders. As soon as they reach the roof, they're captured by the police and brought to the parking garage. Mathis has been bitten, so he runs back into the hallway, starting a battle between the armed men and the spiders. Lila, Caleb, and Menon escape and watch from a safe distance as the building is left in chaos. A spider infestation is a top 10 nightmare, and Infested really makes your skin crawl with its premise. This French creature feature was written and directed by Sebastian Vanacek and stars Theo Christine, Sophia Lesfray, Jerome Niel, and Finnegan Oldfield. The director came up with the idea of the film while looking for a metaphor to explore life in French suburbs, discrimination, fear, and the way people are treated as unwanted. Since spiders are among the most unwelcome creatures, he came up with Infested. Vanacek combined CGI with real spiders to make the film realistic. The film is a bit too dramatic for my taste, but I admit that it's well directed. If you're looking for a creepy and frightfully entertaining watch, you do not need to look further than Infested. Godzilla Minus One. In 1945, Godzilla attacks a Japanese base on Odo Island. The only survivors are kamikaze pilot Koichi Shikishima, who hesitates to shoot the creature, and mechanic Sosaku Tachibana, who's enraged at Shikishima for his inaction. Shikishima heads back home to find his parents dead from the Tokyo bombing and begins taking care of a woman named Noriko Oishi and an orphaned baby named Akiko. He begins working as a minesweeper. In 1947, Godzilla attacks Japan again, now empowered by nuclear testing. Its heat ray kills thousands of people, and Noriko is presumed dead in the destruction. Devastated, Shikishima vows revenge. While former naval engineer Kenji Noda plans to sink the monster using Freon tanks and rapid pressure changes, Shikishima makes his own plan. He intends to load his plane with explosives and fly into Godzilla's mouth, detonating them in a suicide attack. Tachibana talks him out of dying and installs an ejector seat in the plane. Shikishima's plan works, and he ejects safely before detonating his plane, which blows up Godzilla's head. When he returns home, he finds a telegram letting him know that Noriko is alive. The two reunite, and unknown to them, a piece of Godzilla begins to regenerate in the sea. The epic kaiju film Godzilla Minus One was written and directed by Takashi Yamazaki and stars Ryanosuke Kamiki, Yuki Yamada, and Manabe Hamabe. Though Godzilla Minus One is the 37th film in the very large Godzilla franchise, the film doesn't feel repetitive. It's the first Godzilla film to be nominated for an Academy Award and the first to win one as well. Godzilla in this film is a variation of the design Yamazaki had explored in Godzilla the Ride. Yamazaki wanted it to be one of the most horrifying versions yet, and made sure it came across as spiky, ferocious, violent, and godlike. I don't know about the most horrifying, but I can say that Godzilla Minus One is one of the best Godzilla movies to date. It's a complex, well-rounded film that deals with the horrors of war, survivor's guilt, romance, and much, much more. Antlers. In Cypress Falls, Oregon, Frank Weaver and his accomplice are attacked while working on their makeshift meth lab in an inactive mine. Outside, his 7-year-old son, Aiden, waits in his truck. Frank heads home with Aiden and locks himself in the attic. He asks his eldest son, 12-year-old Lucas, to keep them locked in no matter what. Lucas obeys and brings home roadkill and small animals to feed his ravenously hungry father. His drawings frighten his teacher, Julia, who asks the principal, Ellen, to meet with Lucas's family. Meanwhile, the former sheriff, Warren Stokes, and current sheriff, Paul, Julia's brother, discover Frank's accomplice's corpse torn in two and part of an antler in the old mine. Ellen enters Lucas's house and opens the attic. Frank attacks her, kills her, and transforms into a creature with antlers. The police find Ellen's body, and that evening, when Lucas returns, Julia decides to take him with her. Lucas begins to draw creatures, and Julia shows the drawings to Warren, who identifies it as a Wendigo, a creature from Algonquin folklore that passes from person to person. It can only be killed by destroying its heart. Frank continues to hunt using Aiden as bait. Lucas and Julia track him down while he targets Paul and kill him as he begins feeding. The Wendigo spirit passes to Aiden, but Julia stabs him to death to end the curse. As they go home, Paul coughs up black bile, just like Frank did when he was first possessed. The Wendigo creature you see in Antlers was a brilliant blend of practical creature work and digital enhancement. Legacy Effects was responsible for creating the practical Wendigo creature, while other effects teams helped complete the horror on screen. The team had to make it feel powerful enough to be a brutal predator, but also lithe and nimble enough to hunt in the shadows. Antlers was directed by Scott Cooper and based on Nick Antosca's short story, The Quiet Boy. It's a decent movie with a well-maintained atmosphere, but I can't help but note that it could have been better. The ending seems cliched and there's too much setup for very little payoff. However, if you like good special effects, this film is for you. Arcadian. In a post-apocalyptic world, Paul lives with his twin sons Joseph and Thomas in a farmhouse. They spend the day trying to make a living, while at night they hide from the photophobic monsters. One day, Thomas leaves for the Rose farm nearby as he's in love with Charlotte Rose. While returning, he falls into a cave. Paul gets injured while trying to protect him, so the brothers take him to the Rose farm, hoping to borrow some of their medicine. The Rose family refuses to part with their medicine, but allows Thomas to stay. Thomas agrees, hoping to steal the meds when no one's looking. Back at home, Paul and Joseph begin setting traps and making firebombs when they discover the creatures have been digging a tunnel to get to their house. The Rose family is attacked that night through a similar tunnel, and the only survivors, Thomas and Charlotte, make it back to Paul's house. In order to give his kids and Charlotte more time, Paul locks himself behind and detonates the bomb. The next morning, the three set out looking for more survivors. Arcadian is one of those movies that'll surprise you if you go in with low expectations. And I mean low expectations. The film was written by Michael Nyland, who is also Nicolas Cage's longtime agent and manager, so it's no surprise this movie stars Nick Cage. Here's the craziest fact I know about Arcadian. The monsters in the film were partly inspired by a Goofy movie and the exaggerated physicality of Goofy. Yeah, the Disney character. It's kind of ruined the film for me as I really couldn't unsee it. Gosh! But if they showed up at your house in the middle of the night, it would be quite scary, right? Directed by Ben Brewer, this film should be at the top of your list if you enjoy no-brainer entertainment. Beast. Dr. Nate Samuels takes a trip to Mopani Reserve, South Africa, to reconnect with his daughters Meredith and Nora after his wife's death. He meets Mopani manager and biologist Martin Battles, who takes them to the restricted areas of the reserve. Martin suspects a rogue lion has been wandering about after he discovers an injured lion in the local pride and many local people killed. As they rush back, they're attacked by the lion, which causes them to crash into a tree. As the lion attacks them, Nora stabs it with a tranquilizer dart and it retreats. As their vehicle's totaled, they're stranded in the forest at night, and Martin figures that the lion went rogue because poachers killed its pride. Soon, poachers arrive and offer to take them to the village for a price. Immediately, they rescind the offer when they see Martin, who is very anti-poaching, in the group. The lion attacks once more, taking out most of the poacher. Martin sacrifices himself to allow Nate and his daughters to escape in the poacher's vehicle. The trio reach an abandoned school, but the lion follows. Nate asks them to stay inside and lures the lion to the local pride. The pride's male lions, Kawe and Kuda, kill the rogue lion, and Nate passes out from his injuries. Nate awakens in a hospital and tells his daughters that he loves them. They head back to the reserve after some time and recreate a photo that their mother took long ago. Lions probably take second place in survival action horrors right next to sharks, of course. That said, Beast becomes too formulaic to be entertaining at some point. Directed by Baltazar Kormacor, Beast survives thanks to the star power and acting prowess of Idris Elba. I would recommend it to you if you're someone who liked the old school high anxiety action films where there was an animal hunting you. Love and Monsters. When an Earthbound asteroid is destroyed, it releases chemicals that turn cold-blooded animals into huge monsters that wipe out nearly all of Earth's human population. Young lovers Joel and Aimee are separated while trying to save their lives. 7 years later, Joel is part of a survival group, and he looks after the kitchen as he freezes whenever he sees monsters. Desperate not to die alone, he sets out to look for Aimee, and the group equips him with supplies and a map to make sure he survives the journey. On the way, he meets a stray dog named Boy, who becomes a loyal friend, and survivors Clyde and Minnow, who rescue him from monsters and teach him some survival skills. They tell him that they're heading to the mountains, as there are fewer monsters there. He finally reaches Aimee after battling some monsters on his own. Aimee introduces him to the elderly survivors she's looking after and Cap Wilson, a ship captain, who's there to take them to a better place. Aimee tells him that though she is glad to see him, she's not in love with him anymore. Joel wonders what to do after his group lets him know that things have gotten hostile back home. When Cap gives him some poisonous berries, Joel begins to doubt Cap's intentions. But before he can warn Aimee, he's knocked out. When he opens his eyes again, he's tied up with Aimee and her group, and Cap reveals that he's a pirate who's only there to loot them. Joel and Aimee escape to fight Cap. Joel frees the crab pulling their ship, and it sinks the yacht to devour Cap and his men. Joel heads back to help his group reach the mountains, while Aimee and her colonists head north. They share a goodbye kiss while Clyde and Minnow wander in the mountains, whether Joel will survive his next adventure. Love and Monsters is a fun movie starring Dylan O'Brien, Dan Ewing, Jessica Henwick, and Michael Rooker, and directed by Michael Matthews. I know I'm stretching the definition of creature feature with this film as it has a lot of creatures, but since they all have the same origin, it counts. The more the merrier, right? It's one of the more cheerful and lighthearted films on this list. Something to throw on if you have your whole family together and want a good, enjoyable time. Cocaine Bear. Cocaine Bear is one of the craziest films that I've seen in a while. And here's something crazier. It's loosely inspired by a real story that happened in my home state, Kentucky. An American black bear once ingested cocaine from a shipment that had been dropped by drug smuggler Andrew C. Thornton II in 1985. The real bear dies, but the movie imagines a much wilder killing spree. The film has so many characters and so much confusion, but I think I can sum it up for you. The film begins in 1985 when smuggler Andrew C. Thornton II, who works for Kingpin Sid White, drops cocaine packages from a plane that fall in Chattahoochee-Oconee National Forest. A black bear in the forest ingests some of the cocaine, goes crazy, and attacks hikers Elsa and Olaf. Elsa is killed. Meanwhile, Andrew knocks himself out of the doorframe and falls to his death. Detective Bob and Sid's men, Eddie and David, find out about the dropped cocaine and head to Georgia. Meanwhile, middle schoolers Dee Dee and Henry bunk school to paint in the forest and are attacked by the bear. Dee Dee's mother searches for them with a park ranger Liz and wildlife activist Peter. Peter is killed by the bear and Liz is injured, but they find Henry. Henry and Sari run deeper into the woods when Liz runs back to get help. 2 paramedics arrive to rescue Liz, but all 3 end up dead when the bear attacks. Sari and Henry follow the paint trail left by Dee Dee. Meanwhile, David, Bob, and Eddie find the cocaine. But Sid arrives with a corrupt cop, Reba, who kills Bob. Sari and Henry find Dee Dee and Olaf. Remember him from the beginning? In the bear's cave. Olaf tries to leave and is killed. Sid, Reba, Eddie, and David also reach the cave to hide from the bear. When the bear arrives, they jump into the water running below. Sid, however, doesn't want to leave the cocaine and ends up disemboweled by the bear. Whew, that's some story, right? It's a riotous black comedy you have to watch to believe, and it's one of my favorites on this list. It's directed by Elizabeth Banks and stars Ray Liotta, Kerry Russell, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Alden Ehrenreich, Margot Martindale, and Jess Taylor Ferguson, among others. Though critics were split, the box office favored the film. There's not much to say about it, honestly. There's cocaine, there's a bear. What else do you need for an awesome watch? You know the one thing I've noticed in this list? If there's a creature out there terrorizing humanity, there will always be at least one person ready to sacrifice themselves. This is the first time I'm noticing that trope, and it seems pretty prevalent. A new discovery aside, I hope you filled your binge list with these movies and enjoy every bit of your watch time. Which one of these films is your favorite? Mine's a split between Love and Monsters and Cocaine Bear. Sound off in the comments below. And if you liked the video, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, all that jazz. I'll be back soon with more awesome stuff. But until then, have a great day. And as always, stay marvelous.